I love Photoshop, let's add it, let's create together using layers and brushes and let the Photoshop.
Hi, I'm Eliza with Amethyst and Rose Digital Boutique. Welcome to my Photoshop for Beginners series. This series is geared towards people who are completely new to Photoshop. In this series, I'm going to cover things like opening and saving files, adjustment layers, shortcuts, and destructive versus non-destructive editing. Be on the lookout for up-and-coming intermediate and advanced series. Today I'm going to start with setting up our workspace. Okay, let's dive right in. So when you first open Photoshop, you will probably see a screen like this. I'm using Photoshop CC 2020, so if you're using an older version it might look a little bit different. So let's just start from the top and work down. This first section right here, build your skills. You're able to go to the app, view updates. This section over here, grow your expertise. Go to learn. Learn is also right over here, so it doesn't matter which one of these you click. It's going to take you to the screen right here with tutorials. So I've watched a few of these and they're pretty good, so you should take some time and see what tutorials they have. You can also go to all of the in-app tutorials by clicking this link right here. Let's go back home. If you don't want to see this, it's okay to use this little caret right here and it'll hide that section. The next section is your most recent documents. Now if you have not edited in Photoshop at all and this is your first time, you will not have anything here. This will just be blank. You're able to toggle on and off. I'm using the picture view right now, but if you want to, you can click this. It looks like little bullet points, and that will open up this list. So I prefer to work with the pictures instead of the list, but you can toggle back and forth. There might be one view that you like better than the other. Over here under recent, you have sort and recent and an arrow. This is so that you can choose. I'm sorting by recent, but you can sort by file name. You can sort by the size of the file. If you know that the file you're looking for is really big or really small, the sizes are underneath the pictures. You can sort by what kind. Looks like I've got some PNGs, a Photoshop document, some JPEGs. And you can toggle the arrow on and off. So now my JPEGs are at the top and my PNGs and Photoshop document are at the bottom. I prefer to go by most recent. That way I know if it's something I haven't worked on in a few weeks, it's probably towards the bottom. This list does not go on forever though. So if you've worked with a lot of files, it will cut off and you will have to go to open to be able to find a file. But this is just a really quick way, instead of having to go open and click on, try to find where your file is. If it's something you've worked on recently, it'll show up right here. Alright, let's go into Photoshop. I'm going to do that by just double clicking one of these files to open it. This may be what your workspace looks like, or it may not be. So when I talk about setting up your workspace, I'm talking about the location of these tools on the left and the location of these tools and windows on the right. This has opened up in Essentials. I personally don't use Essentials. I feel like it clutters up my workspace and there's a lot of tools that I don't really use. So if you're in the same boat and you didn't know there was a way to change this short of, pulling these little things off and trying to rearrange them and closing out of things, or if you have accidentally closed out of something and you're like, oh my gosh, where did it go? How do I fix it? This little window up here with this little down arrow is where you would fix that. So I'm in Essentials and I just accidentally deleted all of these things that I need. There are two ways to get it back. You can go to Window and individually open, like, I need my layers back. Or you can go over here and say, I messed up, I need to reset Essentials. and that will restore it to the Essentials preset. So let's just quickly go through some of these presets. They have different setups depending on what you're doing. So web and graphic, this is the default setup for web and graphic. For motion, which opens up this video timeline at the bottom, which is pretty nifty, and we'll be getting to that in either the intermediate or advanced series. This is the setup for painting and the one for photography. I think actually the timeline does not open in photography. Let's just double check that. I was playing around with workspaces earlier and may have opened that. So let's reset photography. Okay, so this is what photography really looks like when you would click on that preset. Now, you've got these tools to the left. We're going to have another video where we cover these tools. Actually, it will probably be several because we're going to go into depth on several of them in the beginner series, and then the rest of them in the intermediate to advanced series. You can go over here. Window, these are all, most of these will show up in this little panel right here. So if I clicked on color, you can see it has now opened up over here. Window, if I wanted brushes, I like to have brushes open, so if I click on brushes, that also opens up here. Now what I did for a long time is I would edit, and then I would close Photoshop, and then I would come back a few days later, and I would be working, and I'd be like, oh, I need my brushes panel open. Now you have brushes right over here. You have some settings at the top, but there are some additional settings over here that I really like and really need for some things, like being able to rotate the brush. There, of course, are shortcuts for rotating the brush, and we'll get to that. But I was always having to open these things and open these things. And finally, I looked up and learned about workspaces and realized that I could create my very own workspace, which I did. It's called Let's Edit. And this is my custom workspace that I've set up. I have a lot of these tools open that I use often, paragraphs and actions and gradients and colors. I also prefer to have the navigator open, and what that does for me is if I have zoomed in, here's a picture that I'm working on of my daughter. You can see I've got some places on her face that need to be fixed, and if I happen to know that there was a place down here on her dress, I could go to the hand and tediously scroll, or if I've got my navigator open, I could just say, I need to go right here, or maybe I need to work on this area. So I like to have the navigator because I don't have to use the hand tool and drag as much. I can just click around in the picture. So this is my own personal workspace, and I'm going to show you right now how you can create your own custom workspace. So you can go ahead and pop some of these out. You can close some things, make whatever adjustments you need. So you know that you're going to need layers. You don't think you're really going to need properties. You don't think that you're going to use learn. Let's just pretend that you just really only want to have layers. You're working a lot in layers. You don't like to have a whole bunch of clutter over here. You use a lot of layers, which can happen in compositing, and if you're not putting things into folders as you go, sometimes you can end up with a really long list of layers. So you could come down and say, I want this to be my new workspace, and I'm going to call it composites. So I've got my new layer. I'm just COMPOSIT. I think I spelled that right. Spelling, unfortunately, is not my strong suit, but editing is, which is why I'm teaching editing and not spelling. So I have my new workspace. It's called Composites. So if I went back to photography, I'm doing some photography editing, man, I'm going to do some composites. I come back up and it has saved this workspace for me. If you're in here and you open some other stuff up, you're really getting deep into it and you've got windows left, right, sideways. Instead of having to close out of all these, you can just say, please just reset. Having custom workspaces is also great if you are sharing Photoshop. If you're in a situation where you're sharing Photoshop with a friend, family member, coworker, you can have your own workspace set up and encourage them to do the same thing. And then when you come to use the computer, you can just change workspaces and all your custom settings are there. And then when they come, they can just change it as well. So I think we have covered, the last thing is if you wanted to delete a workspace. So if you have made a workspace and you realize, I don't really like it, or you're just playing around and you created one and now you've got a list of like 8 new workspaces at the top and it feels so claustrophobic, you can delete a workspace. Unfortunately, you cannot delete, well, maybe it's not unfortunate, but you cannot delete a workspace that is currently open. So if I hit delete workspace, you can see composites is active and I can't delete it. You can delete all custom if you really want to start over, but I do not want to do that because I like my Let's Edit. So what I'm going to do is go to Essentials, and then I'm going to say delete workspace, and I'm going to come over composites at the top because it's my most recent one that I've created. You can now see that I cannot delete the Essentials because it's active, but I am going to delete composites, and yes, I really do want to delete it. Come back up to the menu and it is gone. Perfect. So I just wanted to thank you for watching this video. I hope that you learned something new. If you did, the 2 best ways to make that knowledge stick are to apply it and share it. To apply what you learned today, I encourage you to spend a few minutes in Photoshop and create a custom workspace. Remember, you can always delete it. To teach it, share this post with someone else. When you teach something, you get to learn it twice. Here's how. You can leave a review on Facebook with your biggest takeaway. You can share this post, share or post this video, and don't forget to tag me so I can properly thank you. That's #EditWithEliza. Okay, see you next time.